In the last few days, Trump has suffered several publicly humiliating moments. The war in Iran, rising prices, terrible job numbers, the DHS shutdown, newly uncovered Epstein allegations, more than 8 million people marching on No King's Day, his disastrous SCOTUS hearing, firing Pam Bondi, and whatever the this religious cult moment was in the White House.
Would you all stand and just, if you're comfortable, stretch your hand towards our president? You were betrayed and arrested and falsely accused. It's a familiar pattern that our Lord and Savior showed us. God is with you and God is using you to defeat evil.
Sure, Jan.
But the one that has really gotten under Trump's skin, the one that he cares about the most despite all of the other problems facing Americans today, is his White House ballroom.
At this moment in time, of course, the ballroom is really the president's main priority.
I'm doing a magnificent, big, beautiful ballroom. Excuse me, wait. I thought I'd do this now because it's easier. I'm so busy that I don't have time to do this. But I'm fighting wars and other things. Wow. What a view. This is the door to the ballroom. This ballroom is going to be something that's so beautiful for the city, so desperately needed by presidents. They call me king now, do you believe it? No king. I'm such a king, I can't get a ballroom approved. It's pretty amazing, right? I'm a king. If I was a king, we'd be doing a lot more. I'm doing a lot, but I could be doing a lot more if I was a king.
Now, there's a lot that I will unpack in this episode because this ballroom is about so much more than just a ballroom. It's his name, his image, his fake legacy stamped onto the most famous house in the world.
I don't have any plan to call it after myself. That was fake news. Probably going to call it the presidential ballroom or something like that. We haven't really thought about a name yet.
And the president has decided what he's naming the ballroom. Are you ready? The Donald J. Trump Ballroom. Of course.
Trump is getting absolutely humiliated by architects left and right over his poorly designed ballroom, which is hurting his ego bigly. A New York Times piece demolished Trump for his ballroom having fake windows, stairs that go nowhere, columns that block the views inside, and a rooftop so big that trained architects said it was unnecessarily big. Even Trump's hand-picked architect, James McCreary II, said the ballroom was too big, which then got him fired.
Awkward.
Which raises an obvious question. How the hell did this thing ever get approved in the first place? Well, when you stack two different commissions with loyalists, it makes it easier. Trump even appointed his 26-year-old former receptionist, Chamberlain Harris, to lead the shit show. And as you probably guessed, zero background in art, architecture, or design.
Shocker.
The White House defended her appointment by saying that she grasped the president's vision. The ballroom is said to be 90,000 square feet. The entire White House was 55,000 square feet before Trump demolished the East Wing. That's not an addition. That is an ugly monstrosity bigger than the building it's supposed to sit next to.
I think it'll be the finest ballroom of its kind anywhere in the world. A lot of people are giving it really good reviews. You sure about that?
Trump's ballroom is so unpopular that two different federal commissions that Trump stacked with loyalists received 34,000 public comments that were 98 to 99% negative.
Yikes!
I just want to point out that President Obama predicted this monstrosity 15 years ago.
Say what you will about Mr. Trump, he certainly would bring some change to the White House.
Trump's White House makeover is so ugly, it's worse than Kristi Noem's. Wait, what about Kristi Noem? Her husband's a secret crossdresser, and the whistleblower is an undocumented immigrant? Oof, that is karma. Anyway, still doesn't excuse Kristi Noem's hypocrisy in wasting millions of taxpayer dollars on her own vanity projects, just like Trump is doing with the ballroom.
We're having like Mexican food. And he goes, Jesse, you want to see the rendition of the big, beautiful ballroom? I said, sure, let me see it. He rolls the whole thing out. And guys, I don't know if you know this, the ballroom is huge. Like, I said, Mr. President, the ballroom is 4 times the size of the White House. He said, Jesse, it's a monument. I'm building a monument to myself because no one else will.
What is wrong with these people?
So after months of Trump illegally tearing down the East Wing and doing whatever he wants, a federal judge has ruled that unless and until Congress blesses this project through statutory authorization, construction has to stop. Specifically, the ruling stops any actions including but not limited to any further demolition, site preparation work, landscape alteration, excavation, foundation work, and other construction or related work. Now, this wasn't from a liberal judge or some activist judge like MAGA keeps crying about. Judge Richard Leon, nominated by George W. Bush, looked at everything that Trump claimed that he had the authority to do at the White House and said, "The President of the United States is the steward of the White House for future generations of first families. He is not, however, the owner." Remember, this is the people's house, and as expected, the petulant child who calls himself a
Very stable genius
lashed out at Judge Leon. Trump whined that he's being sued for building a ballroom that is under budget and ahead of schedule. Neither of those claims have ever been true for any project that Trump has been involved with. I mean, the idiot bankrupted a casino for Christ's sake, and his tower in Chicago had between $270 and $287 million in debt forgiven after failing to repay his lenders. And the commercial space in that same tower has sat completely empty for 16 years. 16 years! The longest running retail vacancy in downtown Chicago. But sure, under budget and ahead of schedule. Trump then went off saying the judge said that we have to get congressional approval. He is wrong. Congressional approval has never been given on anything.
We feel, and we don't feel, we know that congressional approval is not necessary to put up a ballroom.
Actually, no, Trump is wrong again. Before new construction takes place at the White House, there are several steps to follow. Specifically, Congress must expressly authorize the erection of any building on federal land in D.C. And as expected, one of his two hand-picked committees voted to approve the ballroom plans, even though they still don't have any finalized plans.
Tonight, President Trump's White House ballroom has received a final approval from a key agency just days after the federal judge ordered a halt to construction. The National Capital Planning Commission approved the construction on federal property today. That commission is chaired by one of President Trump's former lawyers. Today, the judge ruled in favor of a preservationist group that contends the president does not have the power to authorize the project without Congress.
But it doesn't matter since it still can't move forward due to the judge's ruling. Congress has to act first, and right now, Congress has not done so. I mean, they're still struggling to figure out the DHS shutdown, so Trump is back on Truth Social coping by posting photos of his ballroom. Again, not working on any of the promises that he made during his campaign, just focused on his ballroom. And there's a lot going on underneath the surface here, literally, so let's get into it.
Now, the military is building a big complex under the ballroom, which has come out recently because of a stupid lawsuit that was filed. But the military is building a massive complex under the ballroom, and that's under construction, and we're doing very well. So we're ahead of schedule. That's part of it. The ballroom essentially becomes a shed for what's being built under the military, including from drones and including from any other thing.
He just admitted that the ballroom is going to be a shed for the bunker underneath. Look, I'm no architect, but building a massive complex underneath a demolished historic landmark sounds a lot like new construction to me.
Proof windows, what does that mean?
Bulletproof windows, because, well, we're in a different time. You know, if somebody's up making a speech, we're going to have the inauguration there. We're going to probably have, I would say, definitely it's going to be large enough, but we have drone-proof ceilings.
What does that mean? What is that?
What?
Means if a drone hits the ceiling, it bounces off. It doesn't blow up a building.
This guy is a moron.
So, you know, I wrote some of the thing down. We don't have a lot of bulletproof glass. The White House was built a long time ago. They call this glass, it's bulletproof and it's ballistic proof. The roof is drone proof. We have secure air handling systems. You know, bad things happen in the air if you have bad people. We have bio defense all over, secure telecommunications and communications all over. We have bomb shelters that we're building. We have a hospital and very major medical facilities that we're building.
He just revealed to anyone out there of what we're going to build for security features at the White House. When Trump announced the ballroom, he said it would cost $200 million, but then that changed to $250 million, and then $300 million, and then $350 million, and now it's at $400 million.
That's about $200 million. It's going to be a couple of $100 million at least. I think it'll cost $250 million. It's about $300 million. Actually, we raised, I think, $350 million. So it'll be 400 million or less.
That's a 100% cost increase in like 6 months. And Trump says, don't worry about it. Private donors are paying for all of it, not a single taxpayer dollar.
And all of this money, all of the money paid are paid by myself and donors, and it's all donors. There's not one dime of government money going into the ballroom.
Bullshit.
That is exactly what someone says right before the taxpayers pay for it. Remember him saying Mexico will pay for the wall? And when he left office, over $100 million in materials were left rusting in the desert. So when it comes to the private donors, who are these generous patriots? Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Meta, Nvidia, for a total of 37 donors. Companies that collectively hold billions of dollars in federal contracts with the same administration they're writing checks to. Also worth noting that there are no confirmed transactions from any of these companies, just verbal agreements. Kinda like the tariff deals or the peace talks with Iran that Trump says are happening, but we have no proof of. Now, independent of that, here's what your gut is already telling you. These are not charity donations. Tech companies don't just all of a sudden donate $400 million to a ballroom, but they do donate infrastructure, networks, hardware, security systems, the kind of technology you need to run a classified military bunker underneath a building. And in return, the FCC loosens regulations, the Justice Department drops an antitrust case, and a federal contract worth 10 times the donation lands on your desk. Public Citizen analyzed the donor list and found that 16 out of the 24 publicly known donors already have active federal government contracts.
That's suspicious.
Now, make no mistake, Trump's projects are not just about his fragile ego, they're about permanence. He took over and renamed the Kennedy Center, where people now boo him. He took over and renamed the U.S. Institute of Peace, an organization created by Congress to prevent armed conflict, while starting a war in Iran that murdered 200 school children. And he just got Florida to rename Palm Beach Airport after himself, which was not too long after he failed to get Dulles Airport in Penn Station named after him in exchange for releasing federal funds. This is what Trump does. He's a cheat and a con man. He doesn't build a legacy. He stencils his name on top of someone else's and then calls it his own. And now he wants to build a triumphal arch across from the Lincoln Memorial that he wants to call the Arc de Trump. Quick side note, you want to know who designed a ballroom and a triumphal arch as part of the same architectural project? The GOP's favorite guy, Adolf Hitler. Trump is not building a ballroom, he's building a palace for another term and beyond.
Well, he's going to get a third term. So Trump 28, Trump is going to be president in 28, and people just ought to get accommodated with that.
So what about the 22nd Amendment?
There's many different alternatives. At the appropriate time, we'll lay out what the plan is, but there's a plan, and President Trump will be the president in 28. We had longer odds in 16 and longer odds in 24 than we got in 28. And President Trump will be the president of the United States, and the country needs him to be president of the United States. We have to finish what we started. And the way we finish it through Trump, Trump is a vehicle. I know this will drive you guys crazy, but he's a vehicle of divine providence. He's an instrument. He's very imperfect. He's not churchy, not particularly religious, but he's an instrument of divine will. And you can tell this of how he's pulled this off. We need him for at least one more term.
And that explains the accelerated timeline. He desperately needs to finish this before he leaves office, before anyone has a chance to stop him or tear it down. Just look at how he presented ballroom renderings while on Air Force One.
It's an incredible fitting. You see what that is, right? Nice, beautiful building, and I think it'll be the finest ballroom of its kind anywhere in the world. And that porch will be magnificent, looking in between the columns. They are going to be made, they're going to be hand carved, and they're beautiful. Top of the line, they'll be Corinthian, which is considered the best, most beautiful by far. It fits in with the White House. It's almost a twin to the White House. It's something we just wanted to pay tribute to the White House. And so that fits in beautifully.
That is Donald Trump on Air Force One, heading back to the White House from another weekend of golfing and partying at Mar-a-Lago. Here he is holding up poster boards of his ballroom as he desperately tries to justify building it while Americans are suffering through a war with Iran that he chose to start. Again, he doesn't give a shit about Americans. Now, Trump wants you to believe that this is all a gift for future presidents and future generations. He even posted on True Social saying that the ballroom will be used for future presidential inaugurations. So let me get this straight. He demolished a historic landmark, skipped every legal oversight process, hid the donor names, and started building a classified military bunker underneath it, and he wants us to think that he did it all as a gift to the next guy.
Right.
Remember, this is about permanence for Trump. This is the same guy who lost to Joe Biden in 2020, refused to accept it, tried to overturn the results, pressured his own VP to throw out electoral votes, and then sent a mob to the US Capitol on January 6th to stop the peaceful transfer of power. He didn't want to leave then, and he certainly doesn't want to leave now, because Donald Trump does in fact see himself as a king.
I have a lot of powers to do things, and we use the powers where appropriate. Sometimes you don't have to use those powers. You know, they're a little severe, and then people accuse me of being a king. You see, the king, this is the new one.
Also, you're telling me that this guy is just gonna up and leave the White House after he plans to spend $377 million on himself for executive residence renovations, plus an additional $174 million the following year? Yeah, right. And in Trump's appeal to Judge Leon's ruling, they claim that the ballroom is a matter of national security and says time is of the essence.
Suspicious.
They also claim that the injunction could have been sought out long ago prior to the start of construction, and that there would have been a great deal of time for them to object long before the start of construction, even though their objection would likewise have been baseless and frivolous. Except, Trump started demolition without consulting anyone.
It won't interfere with the current building. I won't be near it, but not touching it. And pays total respect to the existing building, which I'm the biggest fan of. It's my favorite.
Also, this motion is unusually written for an appellate brief and honestly resembles one of Trump's Truth Social posts.
What an idiot!
Thanks for watching. What Was That exists because of viewers like you. You can support the show and get access to more episodes and breakdowns by subscribing to my Substack at whatwasthat.show for just $10 a month. Your subscription keeps What Was That going. No corporate filters, no outside agenda, just honest storytelling with a sense of humor. You can also find What Was That on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen. I'm Gabe Sanchez, and I'll see you next time on What Was That?